The first type of deliverable we will look at generating is contours. Contours are great objects for visualization purposes and plotting surfaces in 2D maps such as topographic and site plans. You can create contours by selecting a surface and bringing up the right-click menu. There are 3 options for creating contours. The first, Create Contours, allows users to create contours and specify several options. The Create Quick Contours, which allows users to still create contours but with far fewer options, and the Create Quick Contour at Elevation command, which allows users to create contours at specific elevations. These commands can also be selected under the Surfaces tab in the Contours group. I'll select the Create Contours menu, and I'll select a surface, in this case my stockpile. I'll give it a name, we'll call this Contours. I'll decide on an interval such as 0.500 meters. As well, I'll select an index contour frequency. In this case, I'll choose 3. I can also select a layer to put my contours on. I have a contour layer here I will select. There's also options for color, line weight, and as well as the index color and line weight. Next, I can choose the color contours by elevation. This is a great command as it lets you visualize the contours similar to how we are currently visualizing the surface in a bright elevation color scheme. Next, I can choose the text style, as well as the distance between labels along the contours. Now I'm going to press OK, and contours are generated. I'll turn off my surface so I can better visualize the contours. And here you can see the contours in a elevation shaded color, as well as the labels along the contours. The Create Quick Contours is different from the Create Contours in the fact that there are less options to choose from. To create only contours at a certain elevation value, you can use the Create Quick Contours at Elevations. Users are able to input an elevation value, and TBC will draw a contour throughout the surface at that elevation. To create a quick contour, I'll give it a name. As well, I'll give it a defined elevation. In this case, I'll select 1580.4. which should end up in this area, and then I'll select a layer, in this case contours, and press OK. It generated a contour at that specific elevation. This is good for visualizing specific break line elevations and plateaus in the surface. After you've created contours, a new object in the Project Explorer called Contours is displayed under the surface they are associated. Here you can select the contour and change the definition and display. There are other surface options in the Contours group, such as Label Contours by Crossing. This can be used on existing lines or contours to label elevations. Create Surface Elevation Grid, which allows you to create points, labels, and lines on a defined grid across the surface. And finally, Explore Object. This is an interesting command that lets users explore values on the surface relative to lines or alignments. This is perfect for viewing proposed alignments relative to an existing ground surface. The next deliverable that we are going to look at is Earthworks Reports.